the flickering torchlight of the royal palace, a figure stands motionless at his post, not wavering, not distracted, the perfect picture of unwavering loyalty. His spear gleams. His shield bears the royal insignia. His eyes watch every shadow, every movement, every potential threat to his king. But if you could see into his heart, you would witness something far more terrifying than any enemy army. Behind those watchful eyes burns not devotion, but deadly intent. The hand that grips the spear in protection dreams of turning it toward the throat he has sworn to defend. This is the story of the ultimate betrayal, not from distant enemies or rival kingdoms, but from the very guardian entrusted with royal life itself. The man who stands closest to power becomes the one most capable of destroying it. Because in the brutal calculus of palace intrigue, proximity equals opportunity. Trust becomes vulnerability, and the oath to protect transforms into the perfect cover for assassination. Tonight, as the king sleeps peacefully behind walls of stone and steel, he believes himself safe, protected by loyal guards, surrounded by devoted servants, shielded by men who would die before allowing harm to reach him. He has no idea that death already stands beside his throne, wearing the uniform of protection, hiding behind the mask of loyalty, counting the heartbeats until the perfect moment arrives. The most dangerous blade is always the one held by trusted hands. To understand this betrayal's magnitude, you must first witness the world that made it both necessary and inevitable. A kingdom where power and paranoia dance together in deadly embrace. The royal palace rises like a fortress against the sky, its walls thick enough to stop armies, its gates strong enough to withstand siege. Yet the true strength lies not in stone, but in steel. The countless spears of guards who patrol every corridor, watch every entrance, shadow every royal movement. These are not ordinary soldiers. Palace guards represent the elite of the elite, chosen for absolute loyalty, unquestioned courage, and willingness to die before allowing harm to reach their sovereign. They know the king's routines, his habits, his moments of vulnerability. This knowledge makes them invaluable protectors and potential executioners. The court itself thrums with barely contained tension. Nobles bow and smile while calculating advantage. Advisors offer counsel while harboring private ambitions. Servants move silently through halls where whispered words can topple dynasties or elevate families to unimaginable heights. In this atmosphere, the guards become more than protectors. They become witnesses to power's corruption, observers of royal excess, keepers of shameful secrets. They see everything: the midnight conferences, the arbitrary executions, the moments when absolute authority reveals its ugliest face. The king rules through fear, as much as respect. His justice strikes swift and merciless. Disloyalty means death. Failure means death. Sometimes, simply witnessing royal weakness means death. But fear cuts both ways. The same terror that keeps subjects obedient also breeds resentment in those forced to enable tyranny. And nowhere does that resentment burn hotter than in the hearts of those who see power's true face daily. Among all the warriors who serve in the royal guard, one figure stands apart, not through birth or wealth, but through something far more precious in palace corridors: earned trust. Captain Mbopa began his service as a common soldier, distinguished only by unwavering loyalty and exceptional skill with spear and shield. His rise through the ranks tells the story of merit rewarded, of a humble man elevated by dedication to duty above self. The king noticed him first during a palace incident when assassins actually breached the outer defenses. While other guards hesitated, Mbopa moved with deadly precision, his spear finding its mark before the threat could reach royal chambers. That night, courage under fire earned him promotion to the inner circle. From there, his ascent seemed inevitable. Mbopa became the guard who stood closest during public ceremonies, the warrior who accompanied the king on private walks, the protector who knew royal schedules, understood palace routines, possessed access that made him invaluable as both shield and confidant. More than military prowess, Mbopa demonstrated emotional intelligence that set him apart from his peers. He read the king's moods, anticipated needs before they were spoken, provided silent strength during moments of royal doubt or vulnerability. The relationship transcended duty, becoming something approaching friendship, as much as any commoner could befriend absolute power. The king trusted Mbopa with secrets that could topple kingdoms. The guard became keeper of royal fears, witness to private weaknesses, repository of dangerous knowledge. This intimacy bred both privilege and burden. Mbopa enjoyed access that nobles envied, but also carried responsibilities that gradually transformed protection into something far more complex and morally ambiguous. The perfect guard was slowly becoming the perfect assassin. The transformation of Mbopa from loyal protector to deadly conspirator doesn't happen overnight. It grows slowly, fed by daily exposure to power's corrupting influence and the gradual erosion of the ideals that first inspired his service. The breaking point begins with a series of executions that shake even hardened palace guards. The king, driven by paranoia and grief, orders the deaths of hundreds of his own people for increasingly arbitrary reasons. Warriors who served faithfully for decades die for minor infractions. Women and children perish to satisfy royal rage. Mbopa finds himself forced to enable atrocities that violate everything he believed about honor and duty. His spear, once raised in noble defense, now guards the king while innocent blood flows. His oath of protection extends to a ruler whose actions destroy the very people they are meant to serve. The moral conflict tears at the guard's soul. Each brutal decree forces him to choose between personal honor and professional duty. Each witnessed cruelty deepens his understanding that loyalty to the king has become betrayal of the kingdom. Whispered conversations with other guards reveal that Mbopa's doubts are shared. In the darkness between shifts, they speak of their shame, their fear for their families, their recognition that the man they protect has become the greatest threat to everything they value. The final straw comes when the king orders the execution of Mbopa's own nephew, a young warrior whose only crime was questioning a particularly harsh punishment. As Mbopa watches his family member die for the king's paranoid suspicions, something fundamental breaks inside him. That night, loyalty dies, and conspiracy is born. The trusted guard begins planning the ultimate betrayal. September 22nd, 1828. The date that would forever change the meaning of royal protection in the Zulu kingdom. The plan requires perfect timing and intimate knowledge of royal routines, advantages that only Mbopa possesses. He knows when the king will be most vulnerable, where guards will be positioned, how to approach without triggering suspicion. The opportunity comes during an afternoon gathering in the royal kraal. The king sits in conference with his half-brothers, Prince Dingain and Prince Mahalangana, discussing kingdom business. To any observer, it appears routine, family consultation under the protection of trusted guards. But Mbopa has spent weeks coordinating with the princes, who share his growing desperation about Shaka's destructive policies. The guard's insider knowledge combines with royal legitimacy to create the perfect assassination plot. As the afternoon shadows lengthen, Mbopa takes his customary position near the king. His presence draws no attention. He has stood in this spot countless times before. His grip on his spear appears normal, the ready stance of a vigilant protector. The signal comes subtly. Prince Dingain's slight nod indicates readiness. Prince Malangana's positioning confirms the plan proceeds. Mbopa feels his heart hammering, but his training keeps his expression calm, professional, unremarkable. In one fluid motion, the trusted guard becomes the ultimate betrayer. His spear, wielded with the same skill that once protected the king's life, now takes it. The weapon blessed for defense becomes the instrument of assassination. Shaka turns, recognition and shock flickering in his eyes as he sees his most trusted protector transformed into his executioner. The king who feared enemies everywhere dies at the hands of the one man he never suspected. The perfect guard delivers the perfect kill. The immediate aftermath of Shaka's assassination sends seismic waves through every level of the royal establishment. The unthinkable has happened. The king has died not in glorious battle, but through betrayal by his most trusted protector. Guards throughout the palace stand paralyzed by shock and confusion. If Mbopa, the model of loyalty, the epitome of duty, could turn assassin, then who can be trusted? The institution of royal protection crumbles as every warrior questions every other warrior's true intentions. Prince Dingain moves swiftly to claim the throne, but his legitimacy bears the permanent stain of conspiracy. He may be the rightful heir, but he is also the co-conspirator who turned the royal guard into an instrument of regicide. Loyalty to the new king becomes complicated by knowledge of his role in the old king's murder. The broader court erupts in barely contained chaos. Nobles who had bent the knee to Shaka's absolute authority now scramble to position themselves advantageously under new leadership. Some openly celebrate the tyrant's death. Others mourn the loss of effective, if brutal, governance. Word spreads throughout the kingdom with devastating speed. The lion of the Zulu nation, the warrior king who seemed immortal, lies dead, killed by the very man sworn to protect him. The psychological impact proves almost as destructive as the political consequences. Military commanders question their orders. Soldiers wonder if their officers might turn against them. Chiefs contemplate whether loyalty or rebellion better serves their people's interests. The assassination that was meant to save the kingdom instead fractures its unity. Most disturbing of all is the precedent. If guards can kill kings, then no authority remains sacred. The social contract binding ruler and ruled dissolves in the blood pooling around Shaka's body. History struggles to judge Mbopa's transformation from protector to assassin, caught between competing narratives of treachery and liberation that continue to echo through Zulu memory. The case for heroic action appears compelling when examined through the lens of Shaka's final, destructive years. The king's grief-induced policies were systematically destroying the kingdom he had built. His prohibition on planting crops threatened mass starvation. His arbitrary executions were tearing apart the social fabric of Zulu society. Mbopa's unique position gave him intimate knowledge of Shaka's deteriorating mental state and increasingly dangerous decisions. Perhaps the guard recognized what others could not see, that only the king's death could save the kingdom from its ruler's madness. His assassination might represent the ultimate sacrifice, destroying his own honor to preserve his people's future. The moral complexity deepens when we consider the alternatives. Direct confrontation with Shaka would have meant certain death for Mbopa and his family. Open rebellion would have triggered civil war. Assassination, however morally troubling, offered the cleanest path to necessary change. But the evidence for treachery cuts just as deep. Mbopa's oath of protection was sacred, binding him to defend the king regardless of personal feelings or political disagreements. His betrayal violated not just professional duty, but spiritual commitment that formed the foundation of Zulu military culture. The method itself, striking without warning, without giving the king chance to defend himself or reform his ways, violated every code of honor that warriors held sacred. Heroes face their enemies openly. Assassins strike from shadows and trusted positions. Perhaps most damning are the consequences. The kingdom that Mbopa claimed to save began its decline immediately after Shaka's death. Dingain's rule brought different but equally destructive policies. The assassination that was meant to restore stability instead initiated decades of increasing weakness. Mbopa's name survives in Zulu oral tradition as both liberator and betrayer, a contradiction that reflects the moral ambiguity of his actions and the dangerous precedent they established. The guard's transformation from protector to assassin reveals the fatal vulnerability of absolute power. Shaka's strength came from his ability to inspire both fear and loyalty, but the same system that made him invincible against external enemies left him defenseless against internal conspiracy, especially conspiracy that wore the uniform of protection. Mbopa's success demonstrates that the most dangerous threats to power come not from obvious enemies, but from trusted allies who transform their access into opportunity. The guard who seemed most loyal became the most deadly. The protector who appeared powerless wielded the ultimate power, proximity to an untouchable king. Perhaps most chilling is the realization that Mbopa's betrayal represents a recurring pattern in human governance. When power concentrates absolutely in individual hands, it creates both motive and opportunity for those closest to the ruler to act against him. The system that creates absolute kings also creates their killers. The assassination's legacy extends far beyond the royal crawl of 1828. It established the principle that even sacred oaths can be broken when rulers become tyrants. It proved that no throne is safe when those sworn to protect it lose faith in its occupant's right to rule. Look around your own world. Where do you see similar patterns emerging? Which trusted relationships carry the seeds of future betrayal? Which powerful figures rely too heavily on protectors who might one day question what they are protecting? Share your thoughts below. Was Mbopa a patriot forced into treachery, or a traitor who violated the most sacred trust? Could any system of protection guard against betrayal by the protectors themselves? If this story of loyalty transformed into deadly conspiracy has captured your imagination, subscribe for more tales from Africa's hidden history. Because the greatest betrayals always come from the hands that hold the keys to our safety. Remember, the deadliest assassin is always the one standing closest to the throne, wearing the uniform of loyalty, hiding behind the mask of duty. Watch your guards. They might be watching you.